destacar alguns dels elements que han sortit aquí que em semblen importantíssims a tenir en compte. En primer lloc, crec que ha quedat clar en totes les intervencions la necessitat d'establir una relació de confiança entre tots els actors d'un territori. Si no hi ha un espai comú, si no hi ha una manera d'estar constantment en contacte i en relació, difícilment podrem avançar junts. Un altre aspecte que ha sortit ha estat el que la demanda canvia. Hi ha noves demandes, és a dir, allò que el visitant, el turista vol, evoluciona i hem de ser capaços, àgils, per estar a l'alçada de les seves expectatives en el sentit d'activitats, per exemple, ha estat esmentat, o el fet de poder elaborar productes turístics atractius, paquets turístics que permetin integrar diferents activitats. Em sembla que tots hem quedat impactats per el lema de Forest of Bowland, Save the Planet and Make Money. Em sembla que això ho resumeix tot molt bé, és a dir, en els temps que corren són dues prioritats absolutes, és a dir, per un cantó hem de salvar el planeta, això està clar, em sembla que tots ho volem, no volem fer malbé a casa nostra, i si això a sobre ens permet guanyar diners, doncs escolta, fantàstic, no? Un altre aspecte que vull destacar és el de la possibilitat que els visitants col·laborin econòmicament en el manteniment de la conservació en un territori. Això que tan arrelat està en la cultura anglosaxona aquí és una assignatura pendent i ens hem de plantejar. Nosaltres amb la Carta Europea ens ho vam començar a plantejar, però de moment sembla que la cosa no ha anat gaire endavant, no? I, evidentment, un altre dels aspectes que voldria destacar i que té a veure amb el primer que he dit és que si volem avançar junts, si volem conèixer-nos, si volem tenir una bona relació, cal que compartim el model de turisme en un territori. És a dir, no podem dispersar models, hem d'anar tots a un model evidentment sostenible, però aquest model, a partir de la sostenibilitat, s'ha de poder concretar d'una manera molt més eficient, diguéssim, no? També destacar que la natura és també un model cultural, la Mireia ho ha dit molt bé, per tant, no fer distinció entre natura i cultura, sinó que és un tot integrat, tot forma part del patrimoni, el que els anglesos diuen heritage, no? Doncs realment és el nostre patrimoni i per tant no es pot dissociar. I pel que fa a l'apreciació, l'última part de la intervenció de la Mireia, l'apreciació per part de l'administració dels valors que es posa a treballar amb la Carta Europea i treballar en relació amb el pla natural, doncs això és una cosa també en la que hem de treballar moltíssim. Penso que és evident que l'administració ha de ser sensible i ha de poder premiar aquells que fan un esforç per conservar el planeta i guanyar diners, i per tant, doncs, evidentment, hauria de tenir una actitud sensible, receptiva i col·laboradora amb aquests objectius. Aquests serien potser els elements a partir dels quals podem iniciar el debat.
Jo el que voldria és agafar el primer tema que has posat sobre la taula, Josep Maria, que era aquesta relació de confiança entre els actors del territori com a element imprescindible per tal d'iniciar aquesta vinculació entre el que seria el sector del turisme i la conservació. I més que una solució, el que proposaria és també un tema de debat, que és en quin escenari s'ha de donar aquest tipus de plantejament de confiança. Perquè pel que fa a la Carta Europea del Turisme Sostenible, clarament s'ha creat un mecanisme participatiu que bé, pel que conec, realment tot funciona força bé, però si considerem que el que seria turisme i natura i també amb espais naturals i protegits i no protegits, sobretot en els no protegits, com generar aquests espais, quin seria el millor entorn a partir del qual treballar aquesta relació de confiança.
Al llarg de la feina que hem fet aquests dies anteriors amb el grup de treball de la Carta Europea, un dels que participaven, que desafortunadament no s'ha pogut quedar per avui, al mig d'una discussió se'ns queda mirant i ens diu ja veig que sou uns veritables creients en la Carta Europea de Turisme Sostenible. I això em fa pensar que quan tu parles d'en quin escenari, jo crec que la Carta Europea, amb el nom de Carta Europea o sense nom de Carta Europea, amb estructura darrere o sense, però apunta de quina manera es pot donar l'establiment d'aquesta relació, d'aquesta bona relació entre la protecció i la conservació. Cal tenir un organisme, un lloc on trobar-se i una metodologia, una visió del territori. La carta ho dona en aquells que no solament estan dintre d'un espai natural protegit, sinó que potser estan a l'entorn o a la proximitat i permet definir una àrea més àmplia per la carta que no pas estrictament l'àrea protegida. Per tant, a l'hora de plantejar-nos en un espai protegit, potser aquí a la província de Girona, sobretot, i els espais protegits són molt petits, penso al Regne Moll, si ho comparem amb la mida de molts espais naturals protegits a Europa, doncs realment és un territori molt limitat, estrictament dedicat a la conservació. Potser a l'hora de treballar amb el sector turístic cal ampliar una mica més el territori i ser capaços d'integrar al voltant de la zona protegida també les empreses que se situen a proximitat.
Sí, jo volia adreçar-me al ponent que ha parlat de Forest of Woodland, perquè ha parlat d'un element que per nosaltres és completament innovador i estrany, que és que els turistes participin en el finançament de la conservació. Si ho he entès bé, s'ha creat una fundació per recaptar aquests fons i m'agradaria que el ponent pogués parlar una mica més de, primer, com s'adreça el turista per tal que participi i de quines xifres estem parlant, si realment es recapta molt de diners o no, si aquesta és l'única via de finançament d'aquesta fundació o a més hi ha participació de diner públic i finalment com se'ls gasta.
Okay, well, first of all, it's not by any means any source of funding, and not in financial terms a very big one either, frankly. But we developed over the last few years, and we've now formalised it as this structure as a charity. The way the money is collected is to a variety of things. For example, we sell pin badges, little lapel badges. We invite a donation for that. We have one of our restaurants is currently running a scheme which finishes at the end of this month, in fact for a year, to invite everybody who dines there to contribute 20 pence, 20 cents. When people are paying £20 for a meal, 20 cents isn't too much. That is going to raise about £7,000, which is a lot of money for us. And the various other schemes we're looking at, again, to encourage people to donate for the use of a facility. For example, we have these, I mentioned disability access. We have a scheme which our members, our business members, provide access to a four-wheel drive, all-terrain electric wheelchair, so that people who can't walk so well can travel with their family across the countryside up the hills. And that they're encouraged to make a donation. It's not a charge, but it's a donation that goes into the fund. So there are a number of things we're looking at as a way of doing that. The business I mentioned that was set up, Bolden Experience Limited, technically speaking, legally speaking, is actually... I've lost. Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah. The business is actually set up as a subsidiary of the charity. The charity controls the business. That means two things. First of all, the business has to conform to the objectives of the charity, which are about protecting and educating the public in the area. And secondly, it means if the business makes any profit, the profit is donated to the charity, which, as I said earlier, doesn't pay tax. So in the first year, the first year was very small, but the business made £1,300, £1,300 profit, which was passed as a donation to the charity. So it starts to build up a charity fund, and we hope in the future the business, as it takes on more commercial activities, may make more profit, which will go into the charity. As for how the money is spent, as I said, we have made one or two exceptions. Not I say we, I should say the trustees have made one or two exceptions. But in principle, there's a maximum grant of £500, which is deliberately small because it's intended to encourage the local communities to do projects themselves, which we help with. For example, in one of our villages there was a village shop with a cafe, and outside the cafe at the front there was some what we call cobbled footpath. Do you know what I mean? The stone footpath, and this was needed repairing, and the shop, the cafe, wanted to have it repaired, but everybody in the village, and wanted to try and restore and maintain this traditional paving. It would have been cheaper to pull the stones up and put some concrete down, and it cost £500 extra to have the cobbles relaid by hand. So the charity gave a grant of £500 towards the cost of repairing that piece of paving to maintain the heritage, the traditional paving. That's an example of the sort of thing it does. It's also, last week, it paid a grant to one of the local schools to enable them to have a workshop about hay meadows. Part of our SSSI, our Natura 2000 land, is designated because it is unusual in England, because of it has been maintained as a traditional hay meadow. Most of our hay meadows have been ploughed up and sown for mass production of grass, but these hay meadows are retained, and it's quite a feature of our local heritage in agricultural and even social terms. And so recently one of the schools in one of the villages had a workshop put on by a theatre company about hay meadows, all sorts of songs and poetry and various other aspects of the culture of hay meadows. Again, in that case, I think it was £160 was a grant that the charity made towards paying for that event.
For a lot of people that are cash rich and time poor, and the reverse, time rich and cash poor. So I think when talking about visitor payback, you need to look at both sides of that. So it's not only about money, and Mike has talked about various different schemes, opt-in, opt-out, donation, to collect cash, and many of those schemes are documented and relatively simple and easy to use, and I started one on export. But the other one is around people, and getting people to contribute their time, volunteering. For example, on if people are on holiday, you could accept them, say 1 day of a 5-day visit to undertake some conservation work, whether that's on forest management or stone wall building or on path maintenance, to get them involved, get them active, get them engaged, and again it's all around part of building trust. Another thing which we have done, going back to cash, was around events, mass events. If you say had a big Ironman competition, mountain biking or something like this, people pay an entrance fee, and that entrance fee could be £5, £10. But again, if you add or give the opportunity for the individual to say, would you like to contribute 1%, 10%, whatever it is, towards the area that you're actually using and enjoying, most people are happy to put that money in. And it can raise significant amounts. But one important thing is, wherever that money is collected, you should spend it in that locality. It's no good collecting it in one area and spending it somewhere else. The people that are part of that process of collecting the resources should see the benefit of the resources. There is, last point, there is a good scheme developed in the Lake District National Park in the northwest of England, and it's called the Tourism and Conservation Partnership, and it's all around visitor contributions back to conservation.
Sorry, can I just add something? I meant to say, I'm sorry, you're quite right, Richard. The aspect of this is the participation of the visitors, not just the money. It's that they take an interest and engage with the local needs. And that's also part of this trust building between the local communities, the local businesses and the visitors. So that's important. Yes, it's not just the money.
La meva pregunta anava també orientada cap a l'economia. A partir de quan, o sigui, jo entenc que les inversions en tots aquests temes de conservació d'espais és una inversió assimilar-hi una mica al que passa en una família, no? Els pares fan inversió en educar els fills, els que rentabilitzen la inversió són els fills, no? Passaria una mica aquí, es fa inversió per conservar, estudiar, promoure tots aquests espais, aquesta inversió és de l'administració, bàsicament. A partir de quin moment es pot intentar o es pot treballar l'autofinançament o anar en aquesta direcció?
Sí, aquest és un tema important en aquests moments, jo crec, perquè quan estem parlant de conservació i turisme, com el turisme pot ser un element important per al desenvolupament d'un territori, podríem pensar que d'alguna forma, si treballem correctament, amb un cert temps, aquest territori, pel que fa des del punt de vista de la conservació, pot ser autosuficient. És a dir, hi hauria el risc de pensar que un espai protegit pot generar suficient economia, per dir-ho d'alguna forma, com perquè les necessitats de conservació d'aquest territori s'autoabasteixin. Em sembla que una mica la cosa anava per aquí, no? Diguéssim que això no ho podrem saber mai fins que no es faci la inversió suficient correcta per garantir-ho, cosa que de moment no s'ha produït mai, en primer lloc. I en segon lloc, jo crec que a la mesura en què hi ha aspectes de la conservació que són necessaris i costosos, difícilment la contribució dels visitants o de les mateixes empreses del propi territori mai arribarà, en principi, a cobrir completament les necessitats econòmiques que pugui generar la conservació, diguéssim, no? Tot i que és evident que és interessant avançar en aquesta direcció, però sempre i quan no pensem que això arribarà a un punt en què, diguéssim, l'Estat podrà desentendre's d'aquesta protecció del seu finançament perquè serà autosuficient. Jo crec que això, potser és desitjable, no ho sé, però en tot cas difícil d'assolir i vaja, n'estem molt lluny, no? El qual no impedeix, insisteixo, en què busquem en aquests moments de crisi i de dificultats el màxim de possibilitats imaginatives per fer front precisament a les retallades que necessàriament s'estan produint i que per tant ens obliguen d'alguna manera que la nostra imaginació s'estimuli per buscar noves vies de finançament. Ara, com una direcció, com una tendència...
Thanks, Joseph, and thanks for the question. I think it's interesting that behind the question that there are many levels of what you ask. And to me it's around, you talk about payback in the sense of when does the investment start to pay back. Well, that's a very loaded question. And I think for much of our public investment, it's around a choice for society. Now, we, in our democratic societies, we pay our taxes, we vote in our politicians, and then they, broadly on our wishes, spend money, and that money goes on education, it goes on defence, it goes on transport, social services, and of course some of it comes to conservation and the environment. And there's certainly a choice for society to make where and what proportion those monies go to. But there are studies around, certainly in the UK, for example in the national parks, covers broadly 10% of England, and they receive something like 100 million visitors per year collectively. Now there are calculations, and it's easy to extrapolate what a visitor spends in an area, if they visit it for a day, or if they stay overnight, I'm not up to date with the figures, but let's say it's £10 if it's a day visit, and it's 50 or €50 if it's an overnight visit. And if you multiply those numbers by those figures, you can certainly see there's huge amounts of money coming in, and people are paying taxes, value-added tax, everything else. The money to run those national parks, all of those national parks from government, is 50 million. The money that is spent is it's into to billions, and the taxes would far outweigh what the money income. On Exmoor, when I was working there, the income from the state to run the national park was 3 million. The surveys we did on visitor spend was 25 million. So it's large amounts of money coming in, and I think the environment is contributing back to the taxpayer far more than it gets. But it is up for society to make its choice. And again, in Britain, for example, the security bills to manage to look after the politicians in the government is far higher than they spend on the environment in national parks. They also spend more on the Royal Opera House in London for one building than all of the national parks together. So these are very loaded questions.
Can I also very quickly add that's kind of global view from Richard. If I come closer to home, the reason we engaged with our businesses was because we saw the opportunity, and they see the opportunity, to protect the thing that people come to look at. The great thing about the Forest of Bowland is that there's nothing there. And so that's the attraction, and people come to see the wildlife and the health and the countryside and so on. So, it's very difficult to put a figure, well, it's possible to put a figure on that, but the businesses involved see it as in their interests to invest their time and effort in that. The second thing I'd say is that I mentioned that in terms of actual results, of the 120 odd businesses, 48 were not there 6 years ago, and that's some measure of payback in terms of economic benefit to the area. And I said also save the world and make money. Nobody's a billionaire or even a millionaire from tourism in Bowland, but families are making a living. Very few farmers actually make all their living from the farm. Somebody in the family has another job, whether it's a wife who works as a secretary or she runs a bed and breakfast. So that adds to that income. And the third thing I'd say is our regional tourist board, which covers the whole of the Lancashire and Blackpool area. You might know Blackpool is a major tourism resort in northern England. Run a quarterly business survey, and the last quarter, January to March this year, and we can identify within that the Forest of Bowland. The Forest of Bowland reported higher profitability and higher visitor numbers than the region. And that again suggests to us they're getting their payback for making all this effort. But I wouldn't try to put a figure on it.